The Chiefs are a very slight favorite in this game. I think it's like 1.5 or something like that last I looked. So I think obviously Vegas believes that this game is going to be tight. I believe there is definitely a path to the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game without anything unusual happening. We'll find out what Brooke Pryor thinks about this game. She is in New Orleans from ESPN at BE Pryor. She covers the Steelers. They're not there, but are you hunting down Russell Wilson information to see if he is going to return to Pittsburgh and still be their quarterback?
Absolutely, I am. I mean, I hear New Orleans is the best place to hunt down quarterback information. Yep. I have been, just doing some laps, some pacing outside the convention center, because the best part about the Super Bowl isn't the game, it's the week of and Radio Row, when anybody who's anybody in the NFL and really like the world of sports, and sometimes outside of sports, just moseys on down Radio Row. They're doing interviews, they're selling products, whatever it is, and it's a great time to accost people and see if they will give you any information. So I'm big game hunting right now. I'm keeping my eyes peeled for Russ or Justin Fields. Fingers crossed I locate them. I have talked to Russell Wilson at a Super Bowl Radio Row before. I have been to some Super Bowl Radio Rows. I have been to Final Four Radio Rows. One of them is entirely about the sport, Final Four Radio Row, and the other is entirely about a show. My favorite interviews on Super Bowl Radio Row had nothing to do with the actual game. Although Bill Romanowski, I don't know if he's still around, Bill Romanowski used to bring out his supplements, and he was a phenomenal guest. He's nuts. But a phenomenal guest, but he would carry around like a briefcase, and his wife would be with him, and she'd have a shopping bag full of their supplements that they were selling. The shakes were good. No better time to get supplements than during Super Bowl week, when it's probably like everyone's unhealthiest week of the year. Like, I don't know that I've seen a single, actually, I was going to say, I don't know that I've seen a single vegetable in New Orleans, but I have, because I had fried green tomatoes at dinner last night. So there are vegetables here. They are just, coated and deep fried and taste really, really good. I'm trying to think, there's vegetables in jambalaya. Is there a vegetable in gumbo? Maybe some carrots? I'm trying to think. Yeah, exactly. They are vegetables in disguise is the theme of this city. That's the theme of the cuisine of New Orleans. All right, so you once covered the Chiefs. You were there at the beginning of the Mahomes-Reed run. They're not an overwhelming favorite. What is that? Does that say that Vegas is a little leery of maybe how good the Eagles are? Maybe. I think it's interesting that you said in the intro, if nothing unusual happens, the Eagles can win without anything unusual happening. But it's nice that you think the Chiefs are capable of playing in a game without something going haywire, because that's kind of their calling card, especially this season. Fair point. I think that Vegas is how I feel, and probably the rest of the country feels outside of like Philadelphia, that we will believe the Chiefs can lose in a Super Bowl when the clock hits all zeros and they have fewer points than the opponent. Right. Until I see that happen, I'm going to give the Chiefs an edge, even if it's just like by a little bit. That you still have the edge, because the Eagles were, in this game a couple years ago against the Chiefs and lost. So you can say, they've been here before, but the Chiefs have been here before and won it before multiple times with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they've played in the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years and won 3 of them. Now they'd be going for a 4th and a 3-peat. Like, I think the Chiefs have the edge outside of the X's and O's because they have the intangibles. Like, they know what it feels like to lose a Super Bowl, and they know what it feels like to win a Super Bowl. And I think that makes such a huge difference in these games. I mean, look at the AFC Championship last week or a couple weeks ago. I think a big part of how they won is that they were even-keeled. They came in aggressive, but playing within themselves. And the Bills came out like jittery and just did not look ready for the moment. The Chiefs are ready for the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what gives them the edge.
I thought in the maybe Buffalo's first 2 drives, I'm like, if Josh Allen doesn't settle down, this team's going to be in trouble. Now, he settled down. Josh Allen was great the rest of the way, and they certainly could have won that game, but didn't because, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. But one thing that Buffalo did do in the second half was they ran the ball very effectively. If the Eagles do that, I think they win the game if they run the ball like that. Buffalo doesn't do it that way. I think the Eagles, that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and it is exactly what they should do. I don't know if you've heard of the guy that they have carrying the ball for them, Saquon Barkley. He tends to be very good at that, especially early in games and setting the tone. I think that's the thing that's going to challenge the Chiefs the most is that the Eagles are not afraid to run it early. They're not going to wait to get things going. Wasn't it Saquon's first touch of the game he took for that really long touchdown a couple weeks ago?
Right.
He is so dynamic off rip. He does not have a warm-up time. And I also think it plays into how they defend against Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. The longer that the Eagles have the ball and you can, milk more of a possession by running the ball more, the less time that Patrick Mahomes is on the field. So I think that's a really big key. But Spags' defense is really good. I'm still thinking about that last blitz, that corner blitz that just Josh Allen was running for his life. And I think, too, someone made the point to me the other day that the Eagles are probably still thinking about the last time they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs just dominated them in their goal line offense, and the Eagles' goal line defense was atrocious. So I'm sure the Eagles are thinking we cannot have bad goal line defense this time. We cannot let them do the same things they did that time. Andy Reid is 15 steps ahead, thinking about an entirely different way to beat this Eagles team, thinking that they're probably thinking about the last time that this game happened. That's the thing about Andy Reid is he is such a great tactician and game planner. The man is a mad genius. So I don't know that I'm ready to give Nick Sirianni a mad genius title quite yet.
and that's why Reid's record is ridiculous when he's got an extra week to prepare. Coming off a bye or obviously going to a Super Bowl, their only Super Bowl loss with Patrick Mahomes has been to Tom Brady. And, of course, the Chiefs, we forget, the Chiefs were missing both starting tackles in that game. They had no chance to protect Mahomes in that Super Bowl. They got really blown out by Tampa Bay. All right, it's because I agree with you that Steve Spagnuolo is amazing as a defensive coordinator. So here's the way I have twisted my own brain into believing that this is a game this is the Philadelphia's game plan. Because Kansas City is, I would have to assume that Spagnuolo is going to try to take away Barkley and Hurt running the ball. You have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does Philly throw with success against Kansas City?
I would take a look back at the Eagles-Steelers tape. Now, the Chiefs have a much better secondary than the Steelers have, but remember going into that Eagles-Steelers game, the talk was that Jalen Hurts and his receivers aren't on the same page. A.J. Brown is upset. Devontae Smith is upset. And they absolutely sliced and diced the Steelers defense up by throwing the ball a lot. And that then opened everything else up. And I think that I feel kind of the same way going into this game, that because so much of the talk has been about, well, why don't the Eagles have a good passing attack? Why, can they win without a good passing attack? All of these things. I think this is a game where maybe they do come out throwing, even though conventional wisdom would say, run the ball, give it to Saquon. He's going to set a tone early. I could see them trying to change it up, change the pace a little bit early, but I still think Saquon's going to have a significant impact on this game, but it would not surprise me to see them lean more into the pass game, which everyone thinks is a weakness.
See, this is where I've been doing a Super Bowl prop bet every day since we knew what the matchup was. My first 2 prop bets were A.J. Brown plus 90 receiving yards and
I like that.
A.J. Brown plus 3,200 to win the Super Bowl MVP. Now I got criticism, and I get it. If the Eagles throw the ball successfully, Jalen Hurts is the one throwing it, so chances are the quarterback's going to be the MVP. But in that game, because I'm glad you brought it up, Brown and Devontae Smith each had more than 100 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that could be I know how good Barkley is, and I know how good Hurts is with his legs, and Hurts' one weakness would be if you force him to throw. But obviously against Pittsburgh, that didn't work as well that strategy didn't work as well for the Steelers. And I do think that's what Spagnuolo is going to make him do. He's going to try and make Philadelphia a throwing team, and then you throw Dallas Goedert into the mix, and they've got three pretty dynamic weapons.
Yeah, I think that a sneaky prop bet. I don't know what the odds are, but Dallas Goedert is scoring the first touchdown of the Super Bowl. Could be a really fun one. I would think that has a pretty good payout if you hit on it, and it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, and I think the underrated part of this whole thing is how good Philadelphia's defense has been.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of this is going to be focused on Kansas City and, what Taylor Swift is going to be wearing. I don't know. But I think the Eagles' defense might be the unit that determines this game.
And I think that Jalen Carter's health might be the second part of that this unit could determine the game. And Jalen Carter's health is pivotal in its ability to determine the game. I know that he missed media availability today and yesterday, dealing with an illness. I can't remember how limited he was in practice. But that is, I would keep an eye on that because he is a force on the defensive line, and he could really wreck the Chiefs' offensive line and get after Mahomes. And he is so good. And if they're missing him or he's not playing at full strength, I mean, I have to imagine he's going to be on the field, but how effective is he going to be? How much can adrenaline take over and carry you if you're, a little bit weak because you haven't, been able to practice? You're dealing with an illness. I would keep an eye on that.
Do we know if a leave, cold, and sinus is against the NFL's substance abuse policy?
I do not know. It certainly isn't against the NFL reporter substance abuse policy because if it was, I would test positive frequently.
Are you a fan as well?
Especially this time of year. Look, I'm always trying new things. Dayquil is not always as effective as it used to be, so I'll mix it up. Sometimes I go with the Aleve.
I'm a huge fan. Oh my God, I love talking to you. I can't even express how much fun I have talking to you. All right, give me how you think this is going to go, and I'll let you go back to stalking people on Radio Row.
Oh, my favorite pastime. I believe my official score prediction that will be published on ESPN is I picked Chiefs 32, Eagles 29. I think it's going to be a close one. I think something wonky is going to happen, which is why I went with a wonky score. I think Mahomes will be MVP. None of this is groundbreaking stuff, right? But again, until I see with my own two eyes until I see that he has lost and another team has, there's green and white confetti coming down instead of red and yellow and gold, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs. I'm not going to be trendy because I don't know. They've got voodoo magic, and we're in New Orleans, so it's fitting.
How many of your colleagues do you think are going to pick the Eagles?
Ooh, well, we've got a couple dyed-in-the-wool Eagles fans who were picking, so I think that's going to tip it a little bit. I would think maybe 60-40.
Really?
Eagles.
Wow.
Maybe. I'm not positive. I didn't get a look at the pre-published who picked what. We have to maintain integrity at ESPN and in looking at the picks.
Brooke Pryor, a model of integrity.
That's me.
Thank you very much. At BE Pryor on Twitter. Enjoy the game. Enjoy Radio Row. Enjoy the gumbo. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Brooke Pryor here on the Adam Gold Show. Always makes me just so much fun.
I love Brooke.
She's great.
Yeah.